Hi, my name is Billy, and in this video I'm going to show you how I start building a bathroom wall in our guest house. In this first clip you see here, I'm struggling to keep the 2x4 up to where I want it, up against the laser level. This is the first time I've really used the laser level for a job, so I'm trying to experiment, trying to figure out what's the best way of trying to make this work. Since I'm only a one-man crew here, I've got to try to figure out ways of making this stuff work by myself. So one of the things that I did was put in some screws just to the right of where my laser is, so that way whenever I hold up the 2x4, I can hold it up easily with one hand. So sometimes whenever you're working on things by yourself, you've got to get a little bit creative on how to make things work. Uh, you still got to do the job, and it takes a little bit longer. If you look down here, there's a 2x4 that goes across the floor here. That is right between these two trusses right here. So I'm going to put a few 2x4s going across like here and here to help support that wall whenever I have to put the board along through here. So that's what I'm going to do next. So here I'm measuring out how big my 2x4 needs to be. It's going to go between the two trusses. So I measure that, cut it. Of course I do that off screen. Then I go ahead and pre-screw in my screws so that whenever I put my board up there, it's a little easier to screw in if I've already screwed in the bolts just a little bit, or screwed in the screws just a little bit. So here you can see I've got the 2x4 up there. It's a little bit of a tight fit, but I got it where I want, so I go ahead and screw it in. And then I make sure that it's where I want it to be, try to make some minor adjustments, make sure that it's plumb, and then screw in the next screw. Two boards in here, and then I've also secured another board right here so that whenever I extend this out, I've got a board to screw to. So we'll show that next, me putting up the board that goes along here, comes out, and then I'll show how I connect these other boards in. In this scene, you see me putting up the board, the top board for the wall, for the other side of the wall that the shower is going to be on. And so you see me there screwing in the boards. This is only 5 feet long, so it's much easier for me to handle than the other board. And so now you see me screwing in the second board that goes underneath that to connect the boards, and screw them in to connect them together. Run a few boards, run a few screws at random, and then I start putting the boards that link the two walls together. As you can see here. And so here's the other board that has this screws in it. Of course, as you can see, I've already pre-screwed those in, so that way it's much easier to screw in once I get it up there. That's a little trick that I've learned. It's really, I mean, that's good to use whenever you've got two people, but whenever it's just one person, I mean, you definitely got to have those screws started. Okay, I've marked my 2x4s. Okay, I've marked my 2x4s. I decided I'm going to, with this only being a 3-foot wall, I'm going to, I decided to let the start of a 16 on center stud start on the other side of this board, and then I measure over 16 inches. And so that's where my other board's going to be, the beginning of my next board. And then I'm also going to look up at the top here and see where the board needs to go up at the top. That way it'll be plumb. And of course I'm right in the way of where it's at. See if I can move over enough. No, let me. And then I can mark where that's going to be. There we go. And I can do the same thing with this board here. Put my laser level on it, and then it'll show me where up here it's supposed to go, but I will not film that. Stud I've got in place. Now I'm going to take some screws and screw it in. And the same thing for the top. Of course, I'm not going to show that. It's really the same thing that you saw there. But I've got the stud out where it needs to be. And there's my line. You may not be able to see it. There it is. So I'll screw that in. And then I'll do the same thing here. I've got a line right here. And then I'll put a line. I've got a line up here that I use with my laser level to mark there. If somebody doesn't have a laser level, they can just use a regular level, and that'll be pretty close. So that's all there is to it.